structure, then lined up.
Whew. All right, guys, what's going on? So we're outside the gym at 10:04. Had a good morning. The name of the game for the rest of the week, it's Thursday, is getting a lot of rides, not necessarily trying to make good money on the rides, just back to back to back to back. Today's Thursday, so for the rest of today, Friday, and if I have to on Saturday, try to get some rides then as well. But I'll show you guys where I'm at, because I just busted ass all morning. Again, not trying to make a lot of money, not that I have a choice with what happens, but 10 rides right there. So we've got about 50 more to give before the week's over and I get that bonus. So we're gonna go inside and hit legs. Like I said about training, I've reiterated it many times. I'm trying to reduce my number of days in the gym. So if I have to start combining compounds on one day, I will. But what my plan is now is, since yesterday was such a good bench day and I feel really good from it, no shoulder pain, which is amazing, zero shoulder pain after doing all that benching, which was so awesome. It's been 24 hours since, so my muscles are, you know, mostly recovered, but we still have recovery for today and tonight when I go to sleep on the chest. So since my hip is still kind of healing up, my left hip is really tight from squatting, from whatever, I'm gonna reduce the squat volume a bit, just do a few sets or maybe 3 to 5 sets depending how it feels. I have no idea. I think it's gonna hurt, but we'll adjust my stance and everything and see how it goes. But at a minimum, we're gonna squat a little bit, and then I won't kill legs with hack squats and hamstrings, but anything I can't do on the squat, I will make up just perfectly fine on hack squats and hamstring curls, etc. So today is just gonna be like 70 to 80% of my regular leg day effort, so I'm still recovering my chest because that's honestly more important for me as far as strength, recovery, injuries. Making sure my shoulders, elbows, and pecs are recovered is super important. I don't think I'm gonna blow a knee out or tear a muscle squatting 180 pounds or 200 pounds, whatever it is. But when I'm benching that heavy that frequently, that's the most important thing to recover. So I'm not gonna bust ass the next day in the gym after a bench session. If anything, I'm gonna start taking a day off. But since we're not progressing on squats, or we're not surely progressing on squats because I want my hip to get 100%, we're just gonna go in there and have a nice easy leg day at 10 a.m., train and stretch. So instead of hopping right into squats, I'll probably do a little bit of, I don't know if I wanna call it mobility work, but just get a little looser than I normally do and see how things go. And then if I need to take a day off tomorrow before pulling, I will. Or if today's really easy and I recover great, I'll come in and smash back tomorrow. So don't have my shaker with me, but the pre is here. So this is gonna suck. Oh, good. Ooh, sour candy vibes. Sourpuss. Let's go inside. Put this hoodie on and see you on the squat rack. All right, guys, so it's somehow 11:41 already. Some 41, and you're watching me squat 3 sets only. So today, aside from warming up properly and making sure that I put all my ducks in order as far as doing the loop band, doing the hamstring, and just doing basically not very hard static stretching, but just making sure, loosening my hips, basically doing what I do post-workout, which usually takes 20 minutes, doing that for about 6 or 7 minutes. And it definitely helped me squat easier, but I think the problem is that I was going too low on the squat. So I'm realizing that yes, you can go too low on the squat, and it's really a function of losing quad tightness, losing glute tightness, and passing that point where you start going past parallel and you start to get such a deep hip angle, the hip gets really far below the knee, and you almost lose, it's not that you lose tension, it's that you lose a lot of strength really, really fast. It's almost like as you bring the weight down, it gets heavier, 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 heavier. And then when you get below parallel and you start to bring your hip joint really low, it's like exceedingly heavier, like exponentially. So what I'm noticing is that on the hack squats, when I was bottoming it out, I was going past that point where I can have tension on my quad, and I'm just dive bombing almost to the bottom. So I control my squat, but I was doing an Olympic style high bar squat where I would go to depth, and at depth I would let go of my quad tension, let go of my glute tension, and sit on my calves. So doing that combined with feet pointed out gives me the ability to do that sitting easier. So what I did is I went with a neutral foot position, feet forward, and after breaking parallel, I thought to myself, okay, keep tension on the quads and glutes and go lower if you can. And I went just low enough to kind of feel my calf, and then any more low or any lower than that, I have to almost release my glutes so I can sit down and really go ass to grass. So yeah, for my body and for my, I guess, amount of squatting and my recovery ability, I can definitely squat too low. And that's basically going from having tension right below parallel to sitting on my heels another inch and letting go of my glutes and quads. Since I'm worried about herniating, or the herniated disc in my back, I'm focused on basically neck to crotch tightness. So I was getting to parallel and thinking, okay, neck, crotch, abs, lower abs, rib cage, and I would sit as deep as I could, but I would let go of my base. So I hope that makes sense. Once you pass parallel, realize at some point when your hips get to your heels, you have to let go of some tension and some of that built up, I guess, like just range of motion. You let go of that quad so you can fully stretch it. And that's what was putting one of my hips too deep. And someone made a good comment on my Instagram. They said, is it one hip or both hips? Considering that we all have different limb lengths, some of us it might be insignificant, but I can see that mine is significant because my left glute is lower. So one limb is longer than the other, or one bone, my femur or my tibias are longer than the other. Maybe my foot arch is bigger. It really doesn't matter, but something isn't perfect. So what I need to do is stop myself before bottoming out and lifting and making sure that I get to where I start to bottom out, and I stop. So yeah, it's cutting a range of motion, but if it's gonna improve my health and improve my recovery and protect my hips, that's definitely the way to go. I was more so looking at Olympic lifters, and when they snatch, when they clean and jerk, they slam their joints and they bottom out super hard. So maybe that's a technique thing, or I really don't know if Olympic lifters have good hips long term. I've seen John North, I've seen Steffi Cohen never complain about their hip problems, but their whole training doesn't revolve around bottoming out. They do a lot of back off sets. They do a lot of squat. I mean, I've seen them bottom out a lot, to be honest, but regardless of what they're doing, I'm realizing that keeping my neck to crotch area super tight to protect my back isn't enough. I need to make sure my quads and my glutes are still fully activated at the bottom. And that way I'm not bottoming out my joints. Different limb lengths are going to put different pressures on your hip joints, and that's definitely a problem. Is this thing still on? Okay, cool, it's still on. So yeah, guys, that basically wraps it up. We did 3 sets of working sets on squats, 3 working sets. And then I added 10 pounds to the hack, did about 3 sets, and then I did 3 sets of ham curls, leg extensions, and 3 sets of calves. So that was really it. I will get into the stretching routine if you guys wanna see it. I maybe did a video on it like 6 months ago. It's very simple. It's basically stretches you learned like in high school PE, but they work, especially as we get older. I'm in my late 20s now. I'll be 30 one day. Pretty depressing, but that's better than being dead. So I'll be 30 one day, and I really want to maintain flexibility and strength, and I'm very happy I got to do 3 sets there and learn something on the squat, bring it over to the hack squat, and I definitely learned on the hack squat as well. Do not bottom out for the sake of bottoming out, for the sake of range of motion. The thing with squats is that it's the only exercise where you really can excessively take the joint into huge range of motion, that and like dips. The bench press, if you have any development in your chest and back, you're gonna stop short of having a huge depth. The deadlift, as we know, also has limited depth, and my camera ran out of memory, so sorry about the terrible filming. But the leg day was great, and basically I want to pop in here in the last 2 or 3 minutes and say you absolutely can squat too deep, and that's not a function of, I don't know, saying that it's unhealthy necessarily to squat too deep or to go full range of motion, but if you take yourself into a depth where you lose some tightness on your quads and glutes, and you guys will know what I mean. squat to the ground right now, no mobility work, no flexibility, no like warming up, and you'll bottom out pretty soon. And then if you kind of sit and bounce a little bit and pulsate, you can gain more depth. But it's from elongating your quads and glutes and stretching the muscle. So basically what I was doing is I was doing my first set, sitting in the hole with, you know, 95 pounds, 135 pounds as I ramp up, and increasing my depth by basically stretching my quads and glutes. And as we know, you don't want to stretch your primary movers before an exercise. And I think this has something to do with it. In a closed chain exercise where your range of motion is limited, you don't have a problem with that necessarily, not this specific joint issue from static stretching. But in a movement like a dip or a squat, if you don't have really thick legs, or anything where your body or the floor or something isn't stopping your range of motion the same every time, in an open movement like a dip or a squat, again if you have skinny legs, you can definitely go too deep. You can take your joint to its end range, and then with all the weight you can exceed natural end range, or the end range that is healthy for you, by adding resistance and forcing your joint through a deeper range of motion that maybe you're not flexible enough for, not strong enough for. Regardless of what it is, I'm noticing this now. So if you guys are squatting to parallel, that's not deep enough. And if you guys are squatting ass to grass and you're getting some nagging pains, think about whether you're sitting down and then really just letting go of the quads and glutes for the sake of getting deeper and deeper and deeper. You can do that on an unweighted stretch, that's great, but don't do that with working weights. Don't even do that with warm-ups. Get your little bit of mobility and flexibility in, and then figure out where that point is for you. I promise it's gonna save your hips. Peace. By the way, this mount is absolutely proper. Magnetic of peace. So yeah, we are currently picking someone up. Mitchell? Anyways, he's coming now. So had the shake, it's cashed. So that's how you stay anabolic, bros. Post-workout window. Well, not really, but when you train hard, you need it, so.